So hello everybody. I would like to welcome you all to this EPPO webinar on pest reporting and wish you good morning or good afternoon depending on where you are, because we have also participants from outside our region. And I see that there are almost 90 participants on top of the speakers that we have. Also welcome to all the speakers for their willingness to present today. And I think this number illustrates also the interest in this subject, not only in our region, but also outside. And that's logical because pest reporting is an important subject for the IPPC community and for all our MPPOs. And linked to that is also pest status, which is also a very important subject. So I can imagine there is wide interest. What we'll do today, we'll go through a number of subjects. We'll start with the IPPC obligation on pest reporting. And that's of course by a standard, but it's also good to realize that the IPPC has produced guidance material to help us in fulfilling our pest reporting obligation. So that's good to have that, but we won't only look at the obligation, we also will look at the benefits and the challenges of pest reporting. And therefore we are happy that a number of countries are willing to share their experience. We have some countries from our region like Georgia, Poland, and also a representative from the European Union that will share with us their experience in pest reporting, but also the challenges. We also have experience from outside our region. I'm happy to welcome the director of NAPO, Stephanie Bloom, who will share with us the experience from North America. I think it's always good to look beyond our region and also see and learn from the experience in other continents. We will also look to systems for pest reporting, like the EU has the Eurofit system. How can that help with pest reporting and what's the added value of such a system? And we will look how EPPO uses this information and processes this information to get it in our system of EPPO Global Database. And of course, at the end of this afternoon, we would also like to look at what is further needed to bring pest reporting to a higher level. What can we do as EPPO, but also how can countries be further encouraged or promoted to report their new pests, their outbreaks, but also their interceptions. And I think we know that a lot is done already, but I think it would be good to further develop that and see whether at the end of this day we can draw some conclusions from the experience from different countries. And as always, EPPO is willing to support the country. So if there's anything specifically that EPPO could do, please raise that. We are happy to support with even more than we do now already. And I would really hope that this afternoon is a fruitful exchange of experience between countries and with the participants. So with that, I don't go into more detail because the speakers will do that on all the different subjects. They are more of an expert than I am, so I'll let them do that. Thank you very much for you all participating and for the speakers for the willingness to share their experience. Back to Anne-Sophie.
Thank you very much, Nico. Perhaps before we give the floor to our first speakers, I would like to present who is sitting around the EPPO Secretariat table. So we have Muriel Siffer, who is a scientific officer at the EPPO Secretariat. I'll explain later what Muriel is doing here. And we've got the help of Nathalie Boutron, our IT officer, and of Lisa Perez, our assistant. So I am very grateful to have their help today. And I am Anne-Sophie Roy, the EPPO information manager. So before we start the meeting, I would like to inform all participants that the webinar will be run in the following way. So each speaker will have 15 minutes for presentation, and then we'll try to leave 5 minutes for questions. So participants you will find a panel on the right of your screen, and there is a small arrow indicating questions. So you can use this little space to send us questions. And at the end of each presentation, we'll select 1 or 2 questions that we will transfer to the speaker. In order to help you, there is also another indent saying documents. And in this little folder, there is the general guidance on how to ask a question if you need help. And on the document, you will also find another document, which is the list of acronyms, because we tend to use a lot of acronyms among ourselves, and perhaps not all participants are familiar with those. So just for you to help you, you can find this document there. Having said that, I think we can start the webinar, and I will invite our first speaker, Dominique Menon. Dominique Menon is an agronomist with more than 30 years of experience as the plant health officer with the EPPO of France and now at FAO. So Dominique has experience on capacity building, pest control policies, locust contingency planning, and phytosanitary certification. So within the IPPC Secretariat, Dominique is the lead on national reporting obligation related activities, and he contributes to the implementation also of the IPPC ePhyto solution. So I think now, Dominique, you have the floor, and you have the hand on your presentation, so you can go through the presentation now.
Thank you very much. Can you hear me?
Yes, we can.
Yeah, okay. So hello everyone. It's my pleasure to make this presentation on behalf of the International Plant Protection Convention, so the IPPC. So I'm going to introduce you to the reporting obligations of the contracting parties to the IPPC, particularly on pest reporting. After a brief reminder of the purpose of the convention, I will give a general overview of national reporting obligations, NROs, and then focus on the NRO entitled designation of an official IPPC contact point before detailing the NRO on pest reporting. So why the NROs provided in the convention are critical? Because the exchange of technical and official phytosanitary information through the International Phytosanitary Portal, the IPP, which is the IPPC website, is vital to the effective implementation of the convention. Indeed, the purpose of the convention is international cooperation in controlling pests of plants and plant products and in preventing their international spread, and especially their introduction into endangered areas. This is part of the preamble of the convention. Therefore, the convention includes numerous provisions regarding reporting obligations, so-called NROs, which help contracting parties achieve the objectives of the convention. All countries that sign the convention are obliged to and are responsible for the implementation of all reporting obligations. All reporting obligations have the same legal value and are of equal importance. The reason for having NROs is to ensure that a minimum amount of official phytosanitary information is available that can be used as the basis for ensuring safe trade, safeguarding food security, and protecting the environment from plant pests. In total, there are 13 NROs. 7 are public and 6 are bilateral. Public NROs should be reported via the IPP. Indeed, the Commission on Phytosanitary Measures, the governing body of the convention, agreed that the IPP is the preferred mechanism through which contracting parties can meet their NROs. The majority of the information on the IPP, including all NRO reports, is available to all users of the website. As far as bilateral NROs are concerned, they should be communicated directly between contracting parties. However, they could also be displayed on the IPP if a country wishes to do so. The 7 public NROs that should be reported via the IPP are shown on this slide. However, only officially nominated individuals with password have the ability to enter and edit information, ensuring its accuracy and validity. For the first one, those official nominated individuals are the so-called IPPC official contact points. They are responsible for keeping the country's information on the IPP up to date. I will come back later on the key role of the OCPs. The second one is the description of the NPPO that should have the form of an organogram. Ideally, a description of its organizational arrangements should be included in that organogram. 3, contracting parties should also publish phytosanitary requirements, restrictions, and prohibitions immediately upon their adoption. This information could be linked through the IPP if they are posted on the national website or the regional plant protection organization websites they belong to. 4, list of entry points. Specified entry points of entry specified points of entry need to be selected if it requires specific consignment to be imported only through these points of entry. List of regulated pests, that is to say the list of quarantine pests or regulated non-quarantine pests. The 6th one, pest reports, the occurrence, outbreak, or spread of pests that may be of immediate or potential danger should be reported via the IPP once they happen. I am going through the details of the pest report NRO in the next slides. On the last public one is emergency action. This is a prompt phytosanitary action undertaken in a new or unexpected phytosanitary situation. As far as the bilateral NROs, apart from the above public NROs which should be reported via the IPP, there are also 6 bilateral NROs which should be communicated directly between contracting parties. Bilateral means that all contracting parties should make this information available when required by another contracting party to the extent practically possible. And all contracting parties have a right to ask for that information. However, bilateral NROs could also be displayed on the IPP if a country wishes to do so. I'm not going through the details of the bilateral NROs, but you can find more information at the link provided at the bottom of the slide. Here you have the NRO webpage of the IPPC website. You can find more information on NROs, on the role of official contact points. Also, I will come back later on this, the NROs guide, also the OCP nomination form, and also the IPP phytosanitary editor nomination forms on NRO statistic. Let's focus a few seconds on the designation of an official IPPC contact point, or OCP, which is a key NRO, public NRO. Indeed, the OCPs are used for all information exchange under the IPPC between contracting parties, between the Secretariat and contracting parties, and in some cases, between contracting parties and regional plant protection organization. In brief, the role of the OCP is central to the effective functioning of the IPPC, and it is important that the OCP has adequate resources and sufficient authority to ensure that requests for information are dealt with appropriately and in a timely manner. In addition, the OCP should be someone who is well acquainted with NPPO-related issues. Article 8.2 of the Convention, going too fast. Article 8.2 of the Convention requires contracting parties to designate a contact point, and therefore it is the contracting party which is responsible for making and informing the Secretariat of the nomination. There can be only one contact point per contracting party. In addition, individual persons cannot appoint themselves as contact points. The nomination of a contact point is under the authority of the relevant person more senior than the new IPPC official contact point. To conclude, it's of utmost importance to have correct name and coordinates of the official contact point on the IPP. Last but not least, I mentioned that a few slides before, OCPs can nominate international phytosanitary editors to delegate them a physical upload and manage of their country's information on the international phytosanitary portal. Let's focus on the pest reports and error that relates to Article 4.2b on 8.1a of the Convention. Those articles deal with surveillance and reporting under the responsibility of contracting parties. Indeed, according to Article 4.2b, the responsibilities of NPPO include surveillance of growing plants, wild flora plants, and plant products in storage or in transportation, particularly with the object of reporting the occurrence, outbreak, and spread of pests. In addition, Article 8.1a provides that the contracting parties should cooperate in the exchange of information on plant pests, particularly the reporting of the occurrence, outbreak, or spread of pests that may be of immediate or potential danger. So what are the responsibilities and the situations to report? ISPM 17 on pest reporting describes the responsibilities of and requirements for contracting parties in reporting the occurrence, outbreak, and spread of pests in areas for which they are responsible. It also provides guidance on reporting successful eradication of pests and establishment of pest-free areas. In fact, there are three types of situations that need to be reported. First one, immediate or potential danger, the occurrence, outbreak, or spread of pests which is of immediate or potential danger to the reporting country may be of immediate or potential danger to other countries. Therefore, there is an obligation to report it to those other countries. Contracting parties also have an obligation to report the occurrence, outbreak, or spread of pests that are not of danger to them, but are known to be regulated by or of immediate danger to other countries. This will concern importing countries and neighboring countries to which the pest could spread without trade. Second situation, change status, absence or correction of earlier reports. Countries may also report cases where immediate or potential danger has changed or is absent, where there has been an earlier report indicating immediate or potential danger and it later appears that the report was incorrect or circumstances change so that the risk changes or disappears. Countries should report the change. Countries may also report that all or part of their territory has been categorized as a pest-free area or report successful eradication. The third situation, pest in imported consignment, reporting the pest detected in imported consignments is covered by ISPM 13 guidelines for the notification of non-compliance and emergency action. So what to report in the pest reports? in a pest report. On the left of the slide, you have what a pest report should contain. On the right, sorry, I made a mistake with my, yes. On the right, you have an example on what an official pest report on the IPP looks like. This is an example on the right, an example of a pest report where the NPPO Venezuela notifies the IPPC Secretariat of the detection of the banana fungus Fusarium Oxysporum cubense tropical race 4 in 3 of its states. It was in early this year. Yeah, early this year. You can see all the information reported. At first, you can see the title, which contain at least the pest. So for tier 4, and also sometimes it could be mentioned the region or the country, but at least we have the pest, which is the most important is the title. Otherwise, you have all the information required. You have the corresponding colors, the date of the report, the identity of the pest with scientific name, where possible to the species level and below levels if known and relevant. You have the host or article concern as appropriate, which can be plants names or names of plant families or description of plant groups or products that have been affected by the pest. In this case, Musaceae. The status of the pest under according to ISPM 8 on determination of pest status in an area. In this case, this is present but not widely distributed and under official control. The geographical distribution, you can see here the 3 states involved in this outbreak. The nature of immediate or potential dangers, they have mentioned in this case, I think, yeah, quarantine pest. The geographical distribution, the 3 states, the nature of immediate danger, I've already said that. The person who can be contacted, this is important to leave, if possible, a name on an email. So the countries that will to do so, that wish to do so can contact someone. And the report may also indicate the phytosanitary measures applied or required, the purpose on any other information. So in this case, they have declared declaration of emergency. And they have provided, uploaded a document according to that. How to report? Now, on this slide, so reports should be provided with undue delay, as you can imagine. This is especially important when the probability of immediate spread is high, or between NPPOs of neighboring countries and countries with trade agreements in place. Therefore, countries are encouraged to use electronic means of pest reporting to facilitate the wide and prompt distribution of information. Pest reports that are obligations under the IPPC should be made by NPPOs using at least one of the 3 of the following system presented on the slide: direct communication to official contact points through an email, for instance, publication on an openly available official national website, and also publication on the International Phytosanitary Portal. For pests of known and immediate danger to other countries, direct communication to those countries by mail or email is recommended in any case. Good to know, as reports should be provided without undue delays. Not all fields in the pest report form on the IPP are obligatory to complete in order to technically submit the report to the portal. In fact, currently, only the title is necessary. You can fill in as many or as few fields as are appropriate for your report. However, preferably, you should insert as much information as possible. The report can be updated with new information at any time once more data become available. This is the IPP homepage, and new pest reports and pest report updates are posted in the section on the right. The red circle where you can see is the title of the tab, Pest Reports. You can have the most recent pest reported there. You can also find the pest report bulletins by clicking on See Pest Reports Bulletin at the bottom. The blue circle, the pest report bulletins provide monthly summarized of official pest reports submitted by countries. Therefore, they allow checking all the pest reports more easily. You can also search for data specific to a country by clicking on the country tabs. You can see by selecting the name of that country from the drop-down menu on the right, the red circle. You can also see the full list of pest reports through the link at the bottom of the screen, the blue circle. And the last slide is about the guide to NROs published in May 2016 that offers additional information about NROs as well as assistance on how to upload and update NROs report on the IPP, including practical instruction for posting pest reports. From page 24 until page 32, you will find a detailed example of creating or updating a pest report. This guide is currently available in English, French, Spanish, as well as in Arabic and Russian. There is also an e-learning course on surveillance and reporting obligations published in May 2022 that will be presented in the next presentation by my colleague Juan Antonio Rull Gabayet. Thank you for your attention.
Thank you very much, Dominique, for this a very interesting presentation. I would like to invite. No, it's all right.
Okay.
We're still on time. I think we can take only one question. For the moment, I don't see any question from the audience. Has someone a burning question for Dominique? Not for the moment. If not, just a comment from my side. I would invite participants to visit the IPPC website and have a look at the pest report section. And I can say that at the EPPO Secretariat, we of course regularly consult this section and use the information that is provided there. So a very important website. So please go and visit it.
Thank you.
Thank you very much, Dominique. I think that we have to move to our next speaker, who is Juan Antonio Rull Gabayet. And Juan works also for the IPPC Secretariat. Juan is an entomologist and has ample experience in tephritid fruit fly management, so important quarantine pests. So Juan also has experience in the application of the sterile insect technique and also in scientific research. So within the IPPC Secretariat, Juan works on the development of guides and training material, including e-learning courses, and one of which relates to surveillance and reporting obligation. And this will be the topic of Juan presentations. So I think that Juan, you now have the floor and you can now move through the presentation. So the floor is yours.
Okay, thank you very much. I'm very happy to be here. As said, I work along with Dominique in the IPPC, and as you might have witnessed, Dominique delivered a very comprehensive and detailed presentation with a lot of information. And my presentation is just to highlight that we have developed a lot of guides and training materials that are supposed to give free access to everybody to these kinds of materials and consult in detail everything that has been spoken about here and other materials that are also very relevant to your daily activities. So without further ado, I am going to speak about these guides and training materials. And the key message of my presentation is going to be that you should visit the IPPC webpage and look for these guides and training materials, because you will be able to find a lot of very useful tools that were developed precisely to contribute with the contracting parties of the IPPC, which are 184 countries, in enhancing their phytosanitary capacity. Okay, I'm trying to move the slide, but it's not responding. Can you put the next slide, please? Thank you. Okay, so what are guides and training materials of the IPPC? We have, of course, a large number of guides. Dominique showed a couple of them. We also have e-learning courses, which is a very didactic way of delivering information that may be contained also in the guides, ISPMs, and other materials. We have guidelines, training kits, curricula, and other technical resources that are all aimed at enhancing phytosanitary capacity. These are technical resources that offer accurate, practical, and easy to understand guidance to national plant protection organizations all over the world. The tools are aimed to help NPPOs to achieve and effectively implement the International Plant Protection Convention, international standards for phytosanitary measures, and recommendations of the Commission on Phytosanitary Measures. Can I have the next slide, please? As I said before, there's a lot of materials that have been developed over the years. We have 24 guides and 5 e-learning courses. All these materials were created by global phytosanitary experts. This is very important because we try to include experts from all regions of the world, so that the guide reflects the realities of many contracting parties, and it's useful for all of them. These are available for free to anyone, and the resources cover various aspects of phytosanitary systems. In the case of this webinar of interest is pest status determination, and pest reporting. Several guides have been translated to various FAO official languages, thanks to the assistance from partners. So we are always looking for in-kind contributions for translations of the material. Some of them are available in many languages, but we first publish them in English, and always are looking for donors and contributors for translations. Next slide, please. Here you can see the IPP webpage, and there's a link underneath the slide where you can find all the guides and training materials. I don't expect you to see the little letters in these titles, but you can access every single guide and download it. And in several cases, as you can see in the bottom, you can select a particular language like English, Spanish, Arabic, French, and as I said, we're always looking for contributions for translations. Next slide, please. I will start speaking about the Pest Status Guide, which is important to this webinar. It provides detailed guidance to national plant protection organizations on how to determine the status of a specified pests in a specific area. This guide is available in English, Spanish, and Arabic. Next, please. this includes determining both the pest and the area under consideration, gathering and evaluating information, assessing the sources of uncertainty, and using pest records and other relevant information to determine whether a pest is present or absent in an area. Next. Here you can see a very useful diagram that illustrates the steps in the process of determining pest status. So as I mentioned before, this is the kind of setup that the IPPC guides have. They're supposed to be practical and easy to understand, and they are developed by a set of recognized experts from many regions of the world, but there's also a team in terms of editing, design, and so forth that makes these guides very useful and accessible and easy to understand. So this here we show just a graph showing the steps on determining pest status. Next, please. Okay, so there's also material developed in selecting the appropriate pest status category. The guide offers guidance on selecting the appropriate pest status as described in ISPM 8. And here's a flow chart illustrating the process that an NPPO may follow and the questions that they may ask in order to identify the appropriate presence category for the pest under evaluation in an area under consideration. And there are similar flowcharts to assist with selecting the appropriate absence categories. Next, please. The guide also outlines the responsibilities of an NPPO in determining pest status within their territories, requirements for national legislation to support pest status related actions, how pest status determination fits within the international phytosanitary framework, and how the outcomes of pest status determination can be used to support other activities such as preparing regulated pest lists, pest reporting, and maintaining market access. Next, please. And here's another example of a flow chart with possible next steps in pest status determination, determine whether the pest should be regulated, exchange pest status information with other NPPOs, and consider the implications for market access. Next. And this is another guide that I think is of relevance to this webinar. It's a guide on pest-free areas. It explains the principal requirements for pest-free areas, pest-free places of production, pest-free production sites, and areas of low pest prevalence. Here's a chart. I'm not expecting you to read anything, but remember that you can access all this information for free and very easily in the IPPC website. So this is a decision tree that conceptualizes the critical decision process and management components for establishing and maintaining pest-free areas, pest-free places of production, and areas of low pest prevalence. This guide is available in English, French, and Arabic. Next, please. Now I am going to refer to another type of training material. This is an e-learning course. It was developed in 2022 in collaboration with the FAO e-Learning Academy. And it touches on various topics related to surveillance and reporting obligations. This is sort of a way of getting together a lot of materials around the topic, and the course itself has links to many important documents that a trainee interested in learning about surveillance and reporting obligation needs to have access to and know about. So this course is also free of charge. In this case, it has not been translated yet. It is in English. And if you complete the course and pass an exam at the end of the course, you can get a certificate that attests that you have completed the course on surveillance and reporting obligations. It introduces key concepts related to pest surveillance, pest status determination, and pest reporting. So this is interesting also for the attendees to this webinar. Next, please. It provides guidance to help NPPOs strengthen their national surveillance systems and describes key activities for early pest detection, pest monitoring, pest status determination, with a focus on new pest detections and emerging pests. Next. It offers specific information to assist NPPOs in developing national procedures for reporting the occurrence of outbreaks and spread of pests, and supports the implementation of ISPM 17 pest reporting. As you can see, these courses are divided into lessons, and in this particular course, lesson 7 covers very extensively pest reporting. So the information that was provided by Dominique a few minutes ago can be accessed here, as well as in the guide of pest reporting. But this is a very easy to follow and way of accessing this information. Next, please. Okay, so this is the end of my presentation, and I just want to make emphasis that you can have free access to a lot of these very thorough and complete technical materials in the section of the IPPC webpage, guides and training materials. Thanks for your attention.
Thank you very much, Juan. I think we have one question from the audience. Pauline de Gerfagnon from France is asking, what is the articulation between the reporting made on the IPPC website and the reporting made to EPPO or on Eurofit Outbreak, which is the European Union system to collect pest reports? I leave this question to you, Juan, but we can also...
It's more for Dominique, I guess.
Yes, that's what I was about to say. And in EPPO, we can also provide some feedback on this, and perhaps Mrs. Milona from the European Union. Can I ask Dominique, perhaps, if you want to answer this?
Yes, I can contribute to respond to the question, at least, because this is a very relevant question indeed. First of all, yes, contracting parties should report according to the IPPC. They should report on the IPP any pest occurring in their country or in part of the country. This is one thing. Another thing, what is possible instead is that the country report to the RPPO it belongs to, but in this case, the contracting party needs to inform the IPPC Secretariat. There is a specific form for that, stating that, okay, country A is going to report through its RPPO. Now, the issue, this is more technical issue, is the automatic connection between RPPO IT system and IPPC IT system. We will be working on this in the future, but it's not always implemented as so far. That's what I can say, but maybe my colleague could complete my answer.
Thank you very much, Dominique. I don't know, Juan, if you want to add something.
No, I just may add that reporting in the IPPC can go beyond the region where you are reporting. If you are involved in trade with other regions of the world, it's important to have an updated reporting system, because they are going to consult that particular page. But I mean, I know little about the link between European system and the IPPC, but I think it is important to have an updated page for every contracting party in the IPPC regarding pest status and other considerations.
Thank you very much, Juan. Perhaps I can add from the EPPO side that indeed this is an interesting question, and because countries have in fact several obligations. One is to report to the IPPC Secretariat. Depending on which region of the world they belong, they may have also to report pest outbreaks to their regional plant protection organization. That is the case for the EPPO member countries. And in the particular case of the European Union member states, they have legislations, a common plant health legislation, and within this framework, they have to report pest outbreaks to the European Commission. What I can say that at the moment, we are working with the European Commission on exchanging information about pest reports. But it's true that it's not so easy from an IT point of view, and we are still working on this. And for the moment, the pest reports are still exchanged between Europeans. It's not yet done at global level, but discussions are still going on to try to facilitate the life of an NPPO and avoid to have to report to several organizations at the same several times. I think we can. Do you want to add something?
Maybe it's good to also read out what NEPO is typing in the chat. They say that they are also anxiously waiting for a direct connection from their system to the IPP. And that's also, of course, the next step of EPPO. If you have established a good connection between the EU and EPPO, EPPO has a system for all countries of the EPPO region already. And then the next step would be from EPPO to the IPP. And I think that will facilitate pest reporting and make information more easily available globally.
Yes, thank you very much, Nico. I think we are all looking forward to this, but the technology is not so simple. Anyway. We have another question, apparently. Oh, yes. So Amani Alawamier says, thank you for the presentation. I would ask about the institutions who report the pest status in a country. Is it a government and or academic and or private? I think we can all answer that today. Yes. We are all speaking about official pest reports that are made by national plant protection organizations, which means government bodies that are in charge of plant health. So we are talking only about official pest reports. We are not talking about reports that are appearing in scientific journals, to be clear. I think we can all agree with that.
Yes, we can.
Yes.
I think with this, we have to give a warm thank to our colleagues from the IPPC Secretariat, the IPPC Secretariat. We are very grateful. So now we'll, our next speaker will be Mariam Chubinishvili.
Yes.
Mariam is the deputy head of the plant protection department in the National Food Agency of Georgia. So Mariam is based, I think, in Tbilisi. Mariam was trained as an entomologist and also in agrarian sciences, and she has experience in plant protection, in biological control, pest risk analysis, and she is the deputy head of the Georgian Plant Protection Department since 2020. So Mariam will present us the pest reporting practice in Georgia. So Mariam, the floor is yours, and I think from now on you can move through your presentation.
Thank you. Thank you, dear organizers. Hello, everyone. As it was mentioned, today I'm going to present pest reporting practice in Georgia. So it's an important day when Georgia will share the pest reporting practice with EPPO workshop members. I represent the Plant Protection Department, as it was mentioned also, and it is the first time to speak as a representative of NPPO. So please do not judge me for my minor mistaking, if it will, if any. So my mouse is working, and we will start with legislative background. As all official actions in Georgia is in any other countries are based on legislation. My country is governing both international and national documents for pest reporting. IPPC Standard 6, which is deals surveillance, IPPC ISPM 8, which is about determination of pest status in the area, and the main one, Standard 17, about pest reporting, etc. We are using relevant standards of EPPO also. And what about national legislative acts? All legislative acts are based on the international standards and legislative documents. It should be noted that, and also we are using the main legislative act, which is Food, Feed Safety, Veterinary and Plant Protection Code, and regulation on the plant protection service of the Ministry of Agriculture and Food of Georgia, and the government decree, which is about on approval on the rules of for implementation, phytosanitary border quarantine and veterinary border quarantine control. It should be noted that during the existence of, I will go very, very back to Soviet Union time, a complete pest notification system was working on the Georgian territory, as it was a member of that union. That pest notification, pest reporting system was named as an alarm and forecasts, and it was operated on whole territory of Georgia. Each city or municipality had a service, and a network of regional services provided timely reporting, analysis, and timely event planning, control measures planning, and implementation. After the restoration of Georgia's independence, the system was dismantled, and all the instructions of the national government since 1994, the Plant Protection Research Institute and station specialists created a catalog of common and quarantine pests in the territory of Georgia according to the host crops. They were working with this catalog. The pests were grouped and categorized in that catalog, and is still valid, that document. Over the years, the information, it changes and updates, and we still use that information. Since 1995, the Plant Protection Service was established under the Ministry of Agriculture of Georgia, and it was exist until 2005. From 2006, the Plant Protection Service has been granted the status as of an agency and has integrated the veterinary and then food safety department. So at this day, the national contracting parties can be listed below as like this. The National Food Agency is the National Plant Protection Organization, and it belongs to the Ministry of Environmental Protection and Agriculture. There are delegated institutions, the Scientific Research Center of Ministry of Agriculture, Environmental Protection Agriculture, and the State Laboratory of Agriculture, and Revenue Services of the Ministry of Finance for border control. This delegation is caused because of the National Food Agency does not have all capabilities which should National Plant Protection Organization has to. Next. So I will present here NFA responsibilities. The surveillance is of growing plants, including both areas under cultivation areas and white flora such as fields, plantations, nurseries, gardens, greenhouses, and plants and plant products in storage or in transportation, particularly with the object of reporting or the occurrence, outbreak, and spread of pests and controlling those pests. The distribution of information, also NFA responsibilities within the territory regarding regulated pests and developing, maintaining adequate information on pest status and for the development of appropriate phytosanitary measures. Communication on the immediate or potential danger from occurrence, outbreak, or spread of a pest that is quarantined in the country or a quarantine pest for neighboring countries and countries that are traded with. And also, NFA has a responsibility to make provision to ensure the collection, verification, analysis of domestic pest reports, put in the place system of PRA and determine whether new or unexpected pest situations constitute an immediate or potential danger to the country. So we have other national institutions which we are using as a source of information. I will start with my alma mater, with Agricultural University of Georgia. There are some other universities which are doing research in agricultural field. Georgia Technical University, Ilia State University, and in other cities also we have Kutaisi Tsarateli University, Batumi University, and the Tel Aviv University. And also we are using the data obtained from Anaseuli Plant Protection Laboratory and Scientific Research Center. Revenue services are the most important source of the information, and the State Laboratory of Agriculture as well. We are using international sources of information for from EPPO, IPPC, and CABI International. And now I will describe how pest reporting system works. The pest reports are initiated by the occurrence, outbreak, spread, or any other pest situations in the country. Then we start surveillance. Surveillance are annual divided in two general parts. One is general surveillance, and another one is specific surveys. General surveillance is done annually by state programs, and specific surveys are based on notifications or maybe another sources of information or any new situations, upcoming situations. Then after, we are doing verification of the data, confirming the identification of the pests concerned, and making a preliminary determination about distribution and net establishment. After that, the data analysis is coming. We are putting in place systems of PRA to determine whether new pest situations constitute or immediate or potential danger for the country, and does it require phytosanitary action or not. We are doing after domestic reporting, which includes official domestic reports for new unexpected pest situations for growers, for other stakeholders, by publicity and community action. And then after, we are doing indication of phytosanitary measures applied or required and any additional information. Here I can stop for cases, practical information. Suppose Folwebum hypantria cuneum, we had many years ago the problem for hypantria cuneum. It was the first case after transformation plant protection services to National Food Agency, and it was also transformation time for pest reporting system was developing at that time, and that pest took an advantage, and it was widely spread, and it had also outbreaks, and it was very hard for the country to it took millions of dollars to manage this pest and manage up to this economic level, below to the economic level. Then another case is for brown marmorated stink bug, Heliomorpha helis, which is ongoing challenge for Georgia, and it's a very good example for joint action. We have many institutions we are jointly working to eradicate, not to eradicate, just to control this pest in the country. And we are actively funding institutions to find out any other solutions for which is beneficial for the country. And we also teach our neighbors, as it was Azerbaijan representatives, how to control brown marmorated stink bug, because they newly have a problem. It's a new situation that they got a problem. Fire blight, which is Erwinia mellifera, it could be considered as a successful example of pest reporting from our rapid first pest reporting example, and FAO rapid response and assistance. When it was detected, it was 7 years ago, and our representatives wrote a report for FA in IPPC, and they got an answer, immediate answer. They had got the specialists, and FAO did a lot of efforts to teach our specialists how to eradicate and how to act with Erwinia mellifera. Now it is, I think it now it's on the level how it should be. And spotted winged Drosophila, which is Drosophila suzuki, this is first predentance of PRA-based action. PRA is a new experience for Georgia, which has started from 2020. We started to make first case for spotted winged Drosophila, and together with Scientific Research Center of Ministry of Agriculture, we made assessment, and we are now finishing the pest risk management options. Now then we will go procedures, and we will, after we will finish this document, we will report the countries. We will do all procedures how it should be done. And locusts are the best examples of joint pest reporting practices at the international level, and this case, also international organizations are actively involving with the Georgian brewer specialists, and locusts are managed successfully in Georgia. And for conclusion, I will say some examples about challenges and achievements. For example, H. cunea was the H. cunea was the best example to show the importance of pest reporting system in the country, domestic pest reporting or international pest reporting. And we have some challenges. We got some challenges with the legislation. Suppose national legislation governing pest reporting is very general, and primary level legislation describes the relationship between the national contracting parties and other institutions. But still there is a need to regulate the communication between all participating institutions by the secondary legislation. Thank you. We are waiting for questions.
Thank you very much, Mariam. I am looking at the audience. Do we have a burning question? At the moment, I don't see any, but I would like really to thank very warmly Mariam for her presentation. I think it is very interesting for us to hear about the experience of a country. It shows how pest reporting is related, of course, to legislation, to diagnostics, to pest risk analysis, and also how often it is necessary to have joint action among the various institutions within the country. So, we have a question, but it's not, sorry, it's not really addressed to you, Mariam. It is addressed to us, but I will answer it now. Will EPPO send the presentation to the participants? The answer is after the webinar, with the permission from every speaker, we'll post the presentation as PDF files on the EPPO webpage that is dedicated to the webinar. So the answer is yes, after the meeting, you will be able to retrieve those presentations. I think, Mariam, I would like to thank you once again.
Thanks to all of you.
We were happy to have you with us today. Thank you very much.
Thanks for opportunities for us. Thank you.
Thank you. So our next speaker will also present a national experience. So Katrin Kaminski from GKI in Germany will talk about the benefits and challenges of pest reporting from a national perspective using the example of Germany. So Katrin Kaminski has studied horticulture in Hanover, and after some years of experience in several functions in the field of plant protection, in 2006, Katrin started working in the Plant Health Institute, Julius Kuhn Institute, GKI, which is part of the German NPPO. And one of Katrin's responsibility since 29 is pest reporting at the national level. And I can add also that Katrin has been participating to quite a number of EPPO panels and also to the Working Party on phytosanitary measures. So Katrin, the floor is yours. I think you can now use the mouse to go through your slides. Can we? are you, maybe you are muted, Catherine. We don't hear you.
Can you hear me
Catherine,
now?
Yes,
you hear me
we
now?
can. Yes, we
Okay.
can. Yes, we can hear you now perfectly well. So, and you have
Okay.
the mouse as well, so you can start. The floor is
Yeah.
yours.
Thank you. Thanks a lot for the introduction, and thank you for giving me the opportunity to present here. And good afternoon to everybody. So I want to speak a little bit about the benefits and challenges of pest reporting, how we see it in Germany, in our experience here. So it should be very practical, what I'm going to talk about. And I want to start first with the process and responsibilities of pest reporting in Germany, and when we update pest reports, and then directly come to the difficult point in pest status determination, and giving also an example for this. And finally, I want to summarize then, presenting a little bit the challenges and practice, and then coming to the big benefits of pest reporting. So responsibilities for pest reporting in outbreak. Where do we get the information from that there is an outbreak? So by the way, I here concentrate on pest reporting of outbreaks, not concerning intercepted consignments or something. So how where do we get the information from? It's that we have a notification obligation. So all persons, private and professionals, must notify outbreaks and also suspicions to the regional plant protection services. These are the competent authorities in Germany in our 16 federal states. So these are really the authorities that are taking responsibility there. And they also responsible for surveys and for doing their official inspections. And this is the second way where they can detect, of course, also pests that finally need to be reported. And a third way is that we receive information related to other outbreaks that have already occurred somewhere. And during the tracing investigations that we receive from other NPPOs, mainly from Europe somewhere, we then sometimes also find new outbreaks that need to be notified. Yeah, the information then is also is present then at the regional level, at the federal state level. So the plant protection service there investigates the situation, officially confirms the outbreak, and this includes also the official lab result that is needed for this, and they also impose then the official measures. In addition, they determine also the pest status for the area or region. This includes also surveys if needed. And yeah, there comes the first problem. What then is the area, region? Can be specialized or focused on the outbreak itself, but yeah, for us, it's also always the federal state level region that we consider there. Also, the regional plant protection services then include the draft pest report in the European system Eurofit outbreaks and informs us as a central authority. You already heard about Eurofit outbreaks in the European Union. As Germany, of course, is a member state, we must use this system. So then we receive the information at the Julius Kühn Institute at the central level, and we have also the National Reference Laboratory to confirm the lab result, and we also responsible for carrying out pest risk analysis for new pests if it's not yet regulated. We are also responsible for giving technical advice, for instance, regarding the measures to the regional plant protection services. And finally, we need to check the draft report, clarify questions with our services, and very often need to improve the report. We check for coherence, but also harmonized use of terms, which is sometimes difficult if people are not so much used to notify pests. And also there are sometimes some translation issues. As a central authority, we are also responsible for the determination of the pest status at the national level for Germany, and we include this pest status then in Europhid outbreaks. And finally, we sent the notification of the pest report to the EU by approval in Europhid outbreaks, and I think maybe Julie will talk about it later on. A PDF file is then sent with a report to users of Europhid outbreaks, and by this, we also inform EPPO about our pest report. And in addition to this, via Europhid outbreaks, we also put our pest reports on our website, which is linked then to the IPPC website. Summarizing this short process, if we have an outbreak somewhere in Germany, then the regional plant protection services starts its activities, notifies finally via Europhid outbreaks to us, JKI, as a central authority. We are also in connection then with our federal ministry, and we notify finally to the EU, the European Commission and the member states, but also to EPPO and via our website also to IPPC and all countries and the public as well. So why are we also updating pest reports? We do it if we have an adjustment of the official measures, if there are additional measures or if measures are lifted, and also if we take the pest in the buffer zone, because then an adjustment of the demarcated area is needed. We notify this as well. We also notify if we find new host plant species in the infested area, and also eradication of outbreaks. And sometimes also there is some correction needed. I now want to come to the point what determination of the pest status makes difficult. For us, from our perspective, we of course have our federal structure in Germany with our responsibilities at the federal Länder level, and we need to forward lots of information to the national level then also. And this is sometimes a little bit complicated. We need to do this on a limited time because of the reporting deadlines, and yeah, sometimes it's also difficult what we define as an area for the pest status. National, it's clear, but at the regional level or for that specific outbreak, it's sometimes not so clear. Sometimes there are also difficulties in diagnosis, or we have limited knowledge and availability of information, or if we consider older pest reports, we see that they might be outdated also. Then there are limited resources also for surveys, especially if we consider that we don't have much time to do them if we want to determine the pest status. And sometimes there are also difficult tracing investigations, especially when suspicious plants that we trace trace back or trace forward were already delivered to final consumers and are then very difficult to retrieve back. And it depends then very much the likelihood of survival and establishment of a pest, so the biology and the presence of host plants in our country, and also for the surveys, it's also an uncertainty if the pest has a very long latency period or host plants which do not show any symptoms at all, so they can easily be overlooked. So in principle, we base our pest status determination, of course, on the ISPM 8, but regarding considering all these difficulties, we would say there's always a slight uncertainty. It remains, and we always have in mind that there is an uncertainty, and if there's too much, we simply the determination of a pest status is not possible, or I would add, not immediately possible. So then some additional work needs to be done. So, and for all these difficulties, I try to collect a little bit how we deal with these situations. And the main thing is, I would say, teamwork, team decisions, and also a very good networking, including also local authorities, laboratories, PRA experts, scientists, everybody who might have knowledge about these special pests that is regarded. And also prioritization of our work, but also one key issue is good data management. So there should be databases and IT terms for long-term data storage. And also it's helpful if there's something that merges these local information and helps evaluating the data. For this, we have created in Germany a database or a web tool which called Watson, Web Atlas for Harmful Organisms, and there the pest status is stored at different administrative levels, area levels, and you can see here it's basically a map that is stored there, and the different pest statuses are colored in different colors, and we can see here it's the level of the federal state, which is Bavaria here, but there are also smaller municipalities or districts that can be colored. And we have, for each pest, we have a map, and also for each year, so that we can also have historical data and see a little bit the development of the pest status. I now have an example, a short example, to show a little bit the difficulties. And here it was a difficulty with the diagnosis and also the pest status. Just a recent notification of Hirschmanniella caudacrena, which is a nematode that is a union quarantine pest in the EU. And we retrieved this information from the Danish NPPO, who told us that suspicious Vallisneria water plants were delivered from Denmark to Germany, and they had origin Malaysia. They were imported formerly into the EU. So trace forward investigations were carried out in Germany, and we found out that small retailers received small amounts of plants, and we had then one outbreak or one finding, I would call it, in Schleswig-Holstein, in our federal state Schleswig-Holstein. And the diagnosis was very difficult because there was a mixed sample of 3 plants that we could trace back there or could find in the aquarium shop. And we only had one adult and could only confirm it's a non-European Hirschmanniella species. and we finally concluded that it's probably Hirschmaniella caudacrena because of the information we received from the Danish Plant Protection Organization. So, and in total, it was 10 delivered plants at this aquarium shop, and it was only 3 that we could still find as in the shop. They were in a water basin, and all other plants in the water basin were tested negative. The waters change constantly there. And we, with this situation and also considering this pest, we considered the likelihood of establishment in Germany very low in this case, and still concluded that the pest status is absent, eradicated. I now want to summarize a little bit the challenges of pest reporting, and including data management, which is essential for this. And this is, in the first instance, for the notification obligation, a lack of awareness, so that people don't really know what to notify and that they should notify. It's also difficult sometimes to report on complex outbreak situations, especially if they last over a very long period of time. Then, as we've seen, the diagnosis is sometimes difficult. There is also the complicated federal structure and responsibilities in Germany, which makes it requires lots of information forwarding and collecting. Then it's the quantity of information. So very often we lack information, or it's simply not available in time. And on the other hand, if we consider that we also receive a lot of pest reports, we have to deal with a lot of information by receiving all these pest reports. Then with a lot of information, it comes immediately to the question that storage of information. So the databases, it's an important thing to store it in the right way so that we can use them afterwards, but it also also needs additional efforts. Then we have the quality of information. Are the information really reliable? So all this needs verification, and we always need to check also the relevance, and in addition, keep notifications updated, which is also a challenge. And yeah, with these incoming lot of notifications, at least in the European Union, we also try to have a quick understanding of notifications to make it easy to deal with them. And as we already heard, we have a standardized format in Eurofit outbreaks, which is quite good really to have a quick overview on what's going on, but sometimes the cases do not really fit within, or are then reported a little bit too short, and sometimes storytelling is also important. So because we are really reporting individual histories there. Yeah, sometimes we have also data protection issues which are challenging. This concerns especially the geodata, and sometimes we have also language issues with the translation, but it's less becomes less important, I would say. So I come to my last slide, which is the most important. It's the benefits from pest reporting, and it's the early warning system for preparedness, which we found very important, and also the learning from others. So we receive a lot of management information about special pest outbreak situations, and it's very good to learn learn from others here and also directly have contact persons where we can talk with when we also have the same kind of outbreaks. Pest reporting gives also a very good input for risk assessment, and it helps the identification of survey and research needs. And all in all, it helps really to give us a good overview of the phytosanitary situation in our own country, because it forces us really to work on the issue and also have a good overview on the development over time. So also it supports the review of outbreak developments in general for certain pests. And yeah, one thing which is obvious and everybody knows is it's the transparency and especially justification for import and export situations. So my take-home message is pest reporting is essential for NPPOs, but can also be very challenging in practice. Thank you for your attention. If you have any question, I would like to answer them if I can.
Thank you very much, Catherine, for this very good presentation with concrete examples showing at the same time the benefit but also the challenges. And it's true that pest reporting in practice can be quite complex. We have quite a number of questions, I must say. So perhaps, I'm not sure that we will be able to answer them all, but I will take perhaps a question from Pauline de Gerfagnon, which is asking you if you could explain how you maintain, Catherine, the database on pest status at national level. How do you collaborate with the regional plant protection services or with GKI? Could you explain us how you manage this at national level in a federal country?
The Watson database that we use, this IT tool that we use for this purpose, is already some years old. I don't really have the date, but we have a procedure that the responsible federal authorities of the federal states, they include their information there. And we, at the national level, provide the service, so the application. We have created it and we are maintaining it, and we are also dealing with the information. But on the other hand, we are also including information if we receive them on other ways from our regional plant protection services. Then we also, as a central authority, include the information in the system. So I hope this answers your question.
Well, I think so. We have also another question from Ziol Islam, and the question is about pest risk analysis and pest reporting. And in Germany, is PRA done before pest reporting? How does those two things relate?
In Germany, we do not a full PRA before pest reporting, but we do some kind of an express PRA, which is a quick estimation or assessment of the risk to find out whether it is relevant for reporting for us or not. Otherwise, we do not report. So the first risk estimation is before pest reporting, yes.
Thank you. We also have another question which also relates to the federal, the fact that Germany is a federal state. In case when you have several outbreaks in different lenders, Is this also GKI, which is coordinating the work or the management?
Yes, I'm sorry, I should have maybe explained first a little bit more the structure, but we have only limited time here. But yeah, that's the case. The JKI is also the central authority that is coordinating, but finally the decisions on the measures and everything is up to the regional plant protection services.
And the last question is a more difficult one, I would say, is from Konstantinos Simoglou, asking whether we have a definition of an outbreak with some quantification, or could the mere presence of a plant pest be a sufficient condition to define an outbreak? I think it's not an easy question. I think we don't have a harmonized definition of an outbreak. But there is in the glossary. Muriel will read it for us.
A recently detected pest population, including an excursion or a sudden significant increase of an established pest population in an area.
I think it gives us an answer about pest outbreak, but it's true that when we speak about pest report, we may also report isolated specimens. So it's true that pest reporting is not only dealing with outbreaks, but is also dealing with a small number of a pest, including even a single specimen. I don't know, Catherine, if you want to add something.
No, it's completely true. We try also to be transparent and also notify if we have individual beetles, or like the case with the nematode I just talked about.
Thank you very much, Catherine. It's good to have questions from the audience, but I think that we have now to move to the next presentation to keep with our schedule. So I will invite Paula Czalucinska from Poland, from the Polish NPPO. Paula will present the planning of controls and pest reporting procedures in Poland. Paula has been working in the field of plant health for 2 years. She works at central level, and she's responsible for reporting the results of inspections. She's also responsible for cooperating on phytosanitary issues with the European Union institutions, as well as with international organization, and also with the plant protection services of other countries. So I think the floor is yours, Paula. I think you can now move through your presentation. Thank you.
Good afternoon, everyone. Can you hear me well?
Yes, we can hear you. Yes.
Okay, just check if everything works. Yes, I can move the slides. So, as you can heard, I don't have much experience yet in plant health, but I hope I will show you a little bit how the planning of controls on of inspections and pest reporting procedure looks in Poland. So firstly, I would like to talk about a structure of our organization, because I think it's important, because people from every level of the structure are involved in the reporting procedure. So then I will talk a little bit about the planning of controls of inspections, and then I will move to the pest reporting. So our organization, the State Plant Health and City Inspection Service, is the National Plant Protection Organization, and our supervisor is the Ministry of Agriculture. And our institution is responsible for the supervision on plant health, prevention of risk related to the use and marketing of plant protection products, and the supervision of production and marketing of seed materials. And on a central level, we have 3 departments, and I work in the Department of Phytosanitary Supervision, and we are responsible for planning of control and pest reporting. Also, under central level, we have central laboratory, and the central laboratory is have a whole network of laboratory, and we work with regional inspectorate. We have 16 of regional inspectorates, and they work with local units, and we have around 260 field units and 21 border control points. So I can show you it on a map. I didn't mark the field units because there are so many. So you can see we have 16 regional units. You can also see the laboratory network. So as you can see, the whole Poland is supervised by our inspection. Firstly, I want to say about the planning of controls a little bit. I think it's important. The detailed scope of controls of quarantine pests and the pests covered by the EU measures is set out in the multi-annual survey program. And the program in Poland covers a period of 7 years from 2021 to 2027. And now we are in the stage 1, covering the period 2021-2023. And the plan is to control of at least 165 pests in these 7 years. And the plan is also that each pest we control for a minimum 2 following years, but priority pest and the pest from Annex 2B of the regulation every year. So in the stage 1 total in 2021 we control 61 pests, and in 2022 and 2023 we control each year 76 pests. So what obligates us to reporting? We heard the presentation from IPPC and EU, so you heard about it a little bit, and we, as a Poland, we are a member of IPPC, EPPO, and European Union. So we need to adopt it, and we also have some national regulation. We prepare technical guidelines on a central level and pass it to the inspectors on the regional and field unit. So what system do we use? We, as a member of the European Union, need to use Eurofit outbreaks, and also we use Traces and T, or from this year IRAS also to report interception in intra-union trade. We also, as a part of EPPO, we are obligated to pass the information also to EPPO, and we have some national reports. We prepare annual reports and ad hoc reports requested by the ministry. So now I want to show you example how it looks in Poland when we have a positive test result and we found the pest. From first step is the field inspector go to the inspection and he collect the sample and pass the sample to the laboratory, and they do testing, and we have a positive test result. And this information from the laboratory is forwarded to the field unit and to the regional inspectorate. They need to decide how the pest is regulated in the country. Is it the quarantine pest? Is it regulated non-quarantine pest? Not regulated? They need to know if it is the first detection on this region in country. And after that, they need to also know whether the pest was detected in domestic production or in the material from another country, because it's determined what information they need to get. And this basic information is forwarded from the regional level to the central level, to the main inspectorate. And we in the central level entering this basic information to the appropriate EU system, and possibly if it's necessary, we additionally informing other countries that may be affected by the detection by email or letter. For example, if we found a quarantine pest in the domestic production, we need to use Eurofit outbreaks. Then the regional level and the field unit cooperate, and they need to do investigation procedure. They need to find out from where the pest it could be found there, and they decide what phytosanitary measure they need to impose. And the measure depends on the pests that are detected. And if there are more information, they need to pass it to the central level, and we are completing the updating the information entered into the EU system. And after every detection, we need to determine a pest status in country. We need to think about it after every detection. Is the pest status is changed? Is it the same? And last step is to think about the possible follow-up action to the detection. If the information activities we have to do, if we have to increase the number of inspections of samples. For example, we have the first detection of the Rossonia solanacearum in a water in Poland. So we needed to do information action. The regional inspectors needed to increase the number of inspections and samples in this year. So I think it's very important, the follow-up action. This is some of the advantages and difficulties in this process. I think the advantages is our organization structure that allows us to information to be communicated quickly and efficiently. I think very important is control planning that allows early detection on infestation and training of staff and the practice definition of responsibilities at each step of the procedure. Every inspector knows what to do on a, for example, on a field unit. They don't need to know the EU systems. They don't need to know English. They just need to know what to do precise on the inspection, and they just pass the information to the supervisors. And I think it works. And our responsibility on the central level is to train the staff. Difficulties are, I think, sometimes collecting all the necessary information takes a long time. And sometimes it's because of a large number of operators are involved in the case. And sometimes it's difficult to identify a source of infestation. I think there are many more advantages and difficulties, but there are some of that. And that's all for me. I hope you understand everything. If you have any question, I hope I can answer it, but if you don't, I can ask my colleagues in office and maybe send you an answer by email. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Paula. I think it's always quite interesting to see how countries are organizing themselves to do pest reporting. So thank you very much. We have a comment from Robert Stefek, and he says, thank you for the interesting presentation. He adds also that, Paula, you mentioned that you control 165 pests. Does this mean surveillance at all sites where they could occur, or only at certain risk locations? So the question is about how you organize your surveillance. Is it everywhere, or do you select sites that are at particular risks?
We control every producer that is registered in our system as a professional operator. We control every professional operator, but we also control places like, for example, forest or parks where are host plants.
Okay, thank you very much, Paula. We have also a question from Joséphine de Gerfagnon, which is about emerging pests. But I think this question is for, we're several speakers. I don't know, Paula, if you want to say a few things about how you would report cases of emergence. Are you confronted with this, or I know it's a complex issue, so how Poland is dealing with emerging pests? How do you report them? And I think the question can be asked also to our two next speakers, to our colleagues from NAPO and also to Yuli from the European Commission.
I'm sorry, maybe someone else can answer the question, because I don't know if I understand it correctly. So maybe
no problem, Paula. I think we'll keep the question for later. We'll give it to someone else. But it's a difficult issue. I agree. Thank you very much. I think we are very grateful It's good to have young people explaining what they do. Our next speakers will talk about pest reporting in the NAPO region. So NAPO is the North American Plant Protection Organization, so our sister organization. So we'll have two speakers, Stephanie Bloom, who will start their presentation, and then Ignacio Baez, who will conclude the presentation. So Stephanie is the NAPO Executive Director. And so Stephanie accepted the position of the NAPO Executive Director in July 2015. And in this role, Stephanie manages the NAPO Secretariat's human and financial resources, while she's leading the fulfillment of the NAPO Executive Committee's strategic plan and priority goals for North America. And Stephanie has more than 30 years of research and policy experience on phytosanitary issues. Ignacio, who will talk later on, Ignacio Baez is a staff scientist of NAPO, of USDA, of USDA APHIS, so the US Department of Agriculture, Animal and Plant Health Inspection Service, working on plant quarantine. And Ignacio is the chairperson of the NAPO phytosanitary alert system. So Ignacio is chairing the group, the expert group that is responsible for this system. So Ignacio is coordinating the scientific support for pest domestic programs and emergency response led by USDA, so in the US. And as I said before, the chair of the PAS. So I will give you the floor, Ignacio, Stephanie, so that you can present the NAPO, the pest reporting in the NAPO region. So the floor is yours, Stephanie.
Thank you very much, Anne-Sophie. I see our presentation on the screen, but Natalie, I am not sure I have control of it yet.
Normally, yes.
You should have control in case you can try with the mouse wheel, or we can see your cursor, but you can try with the mouse wheel or with the arrow keys. If it doesn't work, then I will do it for you.
Yes, it says control by Stephanie Bloom, so let me try it then. Thank you, colleagues in EPPO. And for us in North America, it is good morning. So allow me to say good morning to the 130 participants that have joined this webinar. For me, as a NAPO Executive Director, it is a real pleasure to be with you today. I connected at the beginning of the webinar, and I must say, even though I have 30 years of experience, I have learned a lot from my fellow speakers. So thank you very much to all of the speakers that went before me. Also, thank you to EPPO for organizing such an excellent webinar. Our first speaker today, Dominique Menon, mentioned the importance of the IPPC itself and its articles, compelling us to meet our obligations for pest reporting. And he mentioned several ISPMs that will help contracting parties do the job of pest reporting, particularly ISPM 8 and ISPM 17. What is very important for us to take note of and emphasize in the future is the great contribution, not just of the standards, but of all the implementation resources that were discussed by Juan Rull. So the fact that there is an e-learning course that will help contracting parties better understand and navigate pest reporting, as well as the guide on national reporting obligations. I think those are things that go hand in hand with the international standards to help countries better understand their pest reporting and national reporting obligations. I also would like to say and remind everyone that a few years back, the International Plant Protection Convention adopted its strategic framework for the next decade. And why this is important is that the strategic framework has 8 development agendas or areas of focus. And one of them is called the Pest Outbreak Alert and Response System. And in this development agenda, pest reporting plays a very, very important role. So not only do we have the IPPC's articles, the ISPMs, and the implementation resources, but we also have that umbrella of the IPPC strategic framework, where meeting our national reporting obligations and our pest reporting obligations is very important. So my role this morning is just to give you the generalities of our regional plant protection organization. And Sophie called us their sister organization. I have to say we are the little sister because we are a younger regional plant protection organization and a much smaller regional plant protection organization. But yes, we are sisters with EPPO. So I'm going to talk about the generalities of how we handle pest reporting in the Napo region, and then the specifics of our system, both regionally and individually by country, will be covered by my colleague, Ignacio Baez. So as Anne-Sophie said, NAPO is the regional plant protection organization for the North American continent. We represent and work closely together with our 3 member countries, Canada, the United States, and Mexico. NAPO has been in operation since 1976. And differently than EPPO and that the other RPPOs around the world, our RPPO includes both the interests of our NPPOs or federal regulatory entities responsible for plant health, but we also include the plant-related industries in our regions. Our secretariat is down here in the state of North Carolina, in the capital city, which is called Raleigh. When I call us the little sister, it is because our entire staff is small. We have 4 full-time staff, including myself, and we are fortunate to have 1 contract scientific officer also assisting us. And basically what we do here at the NAPO Secretariat is we manage projects that are of strategic and regional importance and that directly benefit our member countries, including pest reporting. So let me tell you a little bit about pest reporting in the NAPO region. I mentioned that the NAPO Secretariat is responsible for coordinating all regional projects that are of strategic importance. So pest reporting in our region is a permanent project of NAPO. And as such, it is managed by an expert group. Our platform for pest reporting is a web-based platform called the Phytosanitary Alert System, or PASS, and this system is housed here in the NAPO Secretariat and available through our NAPO website. And you will see some of our system in the next number of slides. As I said, because it's a permanent project in NAPO, pest reporting is managed by an expert group. And this expert group is composed by members from our 3 national plant protection organizations. That would be the Canadian Food Inspection Agency in Canada, the USDA APHIS Plant Protection Organization in the United States, and Senacica SADER in Mexico. Not sure what happened to my presentation, Natalie.
Yeah, I'm sorry. I'm trying to make it come back.
Oh, it's
Sorry.
okay. It's okay. Yeah. I can keep talking. So this group of experts, if you are interested to know their names and their contact information, just use this link and you will get their information. As I said before, they work for the NPPOs to primarily develop official pest reports. And there was a question earlier about emerging pest alerts, and Ignacio will talk a little bit more about emerging pest alerts in some of his slides. So the way that this expert group works together is they get together 3 to 6 times a year to not only coordinate their activities, but also to discuss improvements to our phytosanitary alert system. So why is pest reporting important? And I think many of the speakers before me have already talked about this, but it's always good to review. In the case of NAPO, our 3 member countries are signatories to the IPPC and as such are contracting parties, like many of you are. And so we are responsible for meeting the obligations to provide information on the status of non-Indigenous plant pests in North America. I mentioned before that our expert group members are primarily involved in the preparation of official pest reports, and Ignacio will tell you a little bit more how we define an official pest report. But basically, these reports comply with ISPM 17, which is the standard on pest reporting. But we also have a section in our phytosanitary alert system where we report non-official news on pest threats that are important to our region. And these are called emerging pest alerts. And Ignacio will say a little bit more about this during his presentation. So pest reporting for us is important to be transparent, not just with our other member countries in North America, but transparent with our industries, which I've mentioned before are part of NAPO. Also transparent with our trading partners, not just in North America, but around the world. So with this, I thank you, and I'm going to turn it over to my colleague Ignacio to complete our presentation today. Thank you very much. Ignacio, over to you.
Thank you, Stephanie. I hope everybody can hear me. Greetings, everybody. Thank you for having us. I'm going to turn off my camera just to make sure that my bandwidth is not having issues right now. So thank you once again. So I'll continue with this presentation. Let me see, my slides are moving.
Yes, they are moving, apparently. You've moved to the next one. Yeah.
Okay. All right. So once again, thank you very much and greetings to everybody. So I'll talk a little more about what is the Phytosanitary Alert System, or PASS, as you may be hearing this acronym throughout the next slides. So the NAPO Phytosanitary Alert System is a bilingual, which is English and Spanish, publicly accessible, web-based notification system that was launched in April 2000. The system provides a mechanism that allows Canada, the United States, and Mexico to share pest information of quarantine significance, both official and scientific, about emerging plant pests. So what are So what are the benefits of this system for the National Plant Protection Organizations, or NPPOs, of the region, industry, and globally? This project benefits the NPPOs of the region and globally by having a platform which they can provide official communications on pests of regulatory concern and meet the IPPC national reporting pest obligations as required in the convention. The industry benefits from this project by having a platform where official information is communicated about immediate or potential danger of a quarantine pest. But also for NPPOs and industry, the platform provides pest information intended as an early warning of emerging plant pests that may be of interest to the region or agriculture sectors. As mentioned before, the system provides two products, and one of them is the official pest report. So what is an official pest report as we see it? An official pest report is a communication performed by a national plant protection organization. And the purpose is to communicate the immediate or potential danger from the occurrence, outbreak, or spread of a pest that is a quarantine pest in the country in which it's detected, or a quarantine pest for neighboring countries and trading partners. Also, may include reports of phytosanitary measures implemented to manage pest risks, such as successful eradication, the establishment of pest-free areas, and other pest information. Titles on the right of my slide are some examples of these official pest reports. Starting, I'm sorry. So how do official pest reports get generated in NAPO-PASS and also connected with IPP, the International Plant Phytosanitary Portal? The official pest reports posted on NAPO-PASS are provided once again by NPPOs of Canada, the United States, and Mexico. The same official pest reports posted on the PASS are manually linked on the IPPC International Phytosanitary Portal, or IPP. The information posted on the IPP includes the title of the report and a link of the specific OPR that is posted on the PASS. This method helps to retain values of posting on PASS, as well as distributing the information to the international audience of the International Phytosanitary Portal. In the next 3 slides, I will provide an overview of the process on how each NAPO country developed their official pest report and upload into PASS. The process is very similar between NAPO countries. So starting with Canada, the Canadian Food Inspection Service is responsible for issuing official pest reports. It is important to note that an OPR is published in cases of first detection, further detections and expansion of boundaries of the regular area, and the eradication of a pest of regular concern. The process to identify remains the same in each case scenario. The samples are collected as per the specific survey protocol, and the samples are submitted to CFIA, Laboratory of Analysis, which is the Canadian Food Inspection Service. And the CFI laboratory conducts the analysis and confirms the identity of the pest. Then the CFI Policy and Programs Branch and Science Branch are notified of the pest identity confirmation. The subject matter expert in the Policy and Programs Branch, in consultation with the Plant Health Risk Assessment Specialist, drafts the official pest report, which confirms the detection of the pest, the area detected, the status of the pest, and the application of official control measures. The draft pest report is reviewed by the International Standards Senior Specialist for terminology and for meeting the obligations of IPPC principles and international standards. The Chief Plant Health Officer, further to the notification to the Director of Plant Risk Assessment and Surveillance, approves and signs the official pest report. Then the official pest report is posted in the NAPO-PASS and the International Phytosanitary Portal Country Pest Report. For the US process in developing OPRs, the Plant Protection and Quarantine is responsible for, which is part of the USDA and Animal Plant Health Inspection Service, is responsible for issuing OPRs. US provides OPRs through NAPO Pass linked to the IPPC and IPP. They are developed from PPQ communications on requests that are approved by PPQ policy managers. At the end, a sentence is added with the status as per ISPM 8. So an official pest report is triggered when a new pest of a quarantine significance is detected through our surveillance programs, or for pests that are under official control, the pest status changes or official actions have changes. For example, changes of the quarantine, eradication, or any other measures taken to contain the pest. For new detections of significant quarantine pests, pests are officially identified by an official diagnostic laboratory and officially confirmed by our national identification services. For pests that are under official control programs, any changes or updates of the program gets communicated, such as an expansion, reduction, or elimination of a quarantine, such as all eradication, or whatever other measures taken to contain the pest, among others. Once pest status is determined and official actions have been implemented, then an official communication is generated by having the program policy manager of the emergency of the pest program drafts an official communication on the official action our MPPO is taking on the pest. This communication then needs to get approved by the office of the MPPO administrator, which is our PPQ's deputy administrator's office. Then the communication is shared with states and stakeholders through a couple of means, including the NAPO Pass, which in turn is linked to the IPP portal. Sorry about that. For Mexico, the Servicio Nacional de Sanidad, Inocuidad y Calidad Agroalimentaria, Dirección General de Sanidad Vegetal, or SENASICA, is responsible for issuing the OPRs. All pest reports are initiated by the occurrence, outbreak, spread, or successful eradication of pests, or any other new or unexpected pest situation. At the detection of the pest, the specimen or sample detected is submitted to the official laboratory for analysis. Confirming the identification of the pest and establishing its pest status in the country according to ISPM, the pest situation is determined as transient, present, including subdivisions as the case may be. Once the previous information has been analyzed, the definition of the type of actionability is agreed as follows. A, not actionable, B, actionable under surveillance, and C, actionable under official control. In a collegiate meeting of the MPPO, the absence, accumulation, or repetition of the pest detection is determined. In this collegiate meeting, the notification of the pest to NAPO is defined, which can be A, initial notification, B, notification to modify the first notification, and C, notification of closure when the pest was eradicated, or if applicable, when it's indicated the pest is determined to be present. A document is prepared to formalize the notification of the pest to NAPO. Once this notification is signed, the file is delivered to the regulatory area for its management with the PASS coordinator and NAPO for translation and final publication on the PASS website. As you may have noted, each of the MPPO processes are somewhat similar between NAPO countries. So I would like to show an example on how an official pest report can be used to communicate the different stages of an ongoing pest situation. For instance, during an outbreak of the Mexican fruit fly Anastrophe ludens in an area of the Rio Grande Valley, Texas, indicated by a red arrow on the map, our MPPO, in collaboration with the state, established a quarantine after the detection of this pest through survey. It communicated the area that was infested and the regulatory actions and safeguarding measures taken to prevent the spread of this pest to non-infested areas in the United States. As per ISPM 8, for that time, the pest status of Anastrophe ludens was considered to be a transient pest under eradication that was present only in the area of Texas, and that this species was not widely distributed and under official control in the United States. Then, after 3 life cycle elapsed with negative detections in the area due to the measures taken, the quarantine was removed. As per ISPM 8, the pest status for this pest was then considered to be a pest absent and eradicated in the United States. This just illustrates the repeated pest reporting on the same pest, but for different reason, making full circle. So in addition to posting official notifications, also the NAPO Pass has a framework or a structure where we can have what we call emerging pest alert information. ESPER group members may gather information on plant pests of importance to the NAPO countries and disseminate that information through the website in the form of alerts. These products can be found in the PASS system as emerging pest alerts. Pest information may come from public sources such as journals, news bulletins, and information from other MPPOs or RPPOs. The emerging pests alert is intended as an early warning tool for emerging plant pests that are not present in the North American region. And in most cases, information within alerts is not confirmed with the corresponding National Plant Protection Organization. For the latest official pest reports and emerging pest alerts in NAPO, please visit the NAPO site and click on Pest Alerts. We also have the site in Spanish. If you would like to receive the alerts and monthly notifications on all postings, please subscribe by visiting the NAPO site, clicking on Pest Alerts, and then on Subscribe and fill in the required information. If you have any questions, please feel free to contact us. Thank you. Back to you.
Thank you very much, Ignacio. Thank you very much, Stephanie, for this very interesting and complete presentation. I would also invite all participants to visit the PASS, the phytosanitary alert system developed by NAPO. It's a very useful tool. We use it, of course, at the EPPO Secretariat, of course. I'm looking at the question, and I think we have a question from Ziol Islam, and asking, I think it refers to the POAR. So what is the mechanism of the pest outbreak rapid alert and response system? I don't know if you want to elaborate a little bit about this, Stephanie, and explain how it works.
Thank you very much, Anne-Sophie, and thank you for the question. I wish I had an answer for you. The Pest Outbreak Alert and Response System started its activities by putting together what is called a focus group. And the responsibility of this focus group was to conceptualize this very, very large endeavor, because we're talking about an alert for outbreaks, we're talking about a response system, and we're talking about doing this globally. So this group worked for, I would say, a little over a year, and it had membership from all of the FAO regions, including some very well-versed academics. And they provided a comprehensive report on what their vision was for operationalizing something like the PORs. The report is available on the IPP. It's a little bit difficult to find, but I would be happy to try to find it and send the link to all participants of this webinar. But what I want to tell you is, for the next step of the PORs, the Commission on Phytosanitary Measures, which is the governing body of the IPPC, has decided to establish a steering group so they can take that global vision produced by the focus group and bring it down to a practical level. Because the original report was not constrained by things like resources or staff time. Now it is time to take those great ideas and bring them down to practical day-to-day activities. And that is going to be the job of the PORs steering group. Now I can inform the group that the PORS group has been established, but they have not met yet. So they were established in December, and we are waiting. I am a member, by the way. We are all waiting for the IPPC Secretariat to convene our first meeting, where we will have the enormous task of taking the vision of the PORS and making it practical. So I hope I answered your question. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Stephanie. I think it was very clear. So thanks a lot. I think it clarified everything for the audience on this. So we are now all impatient to see what will be the result and how this vision will come into practice. Thank you very much. I don't see any other questions, so I would like to warmly thank our colleagues from NAPO from being there with us on a morning. We know we have several hours difference, so thank you very much for being with us early in the morning. Thank you very much. So the next speaker will be me. Together with my colleague Muriel Siffer, we'll explain how EPPO is using the pest reports that are being sent to us by our member countries. So Muriel and we are working together on the EPPO information services, and in particular, we are both responsible for collecting official pest reports. We also manage the contents of the EPPO global database, which is for us the repository where we store all the data we collect. Muriel is our community manager. So during this webinar, Muriel has posted quite a number of tweets and information on other social media. I am the webmaster, and I am also in charge of the EPPO codes. So I think I can now start the presentation. So we wanted to briefly explain to the audience how EPPO is using wait, I think next slide, Natalie. How EPPO is using the pest report. So why are we collecting a pest report? In fact, if we look at the EPPO Convention, it is clearly stated that among our function, one, it's not the only one, of course, but one is to disseminate information. And this information, we obtain it from our members. And this information is about the existence of outbreaks, information about the spread of pests. And then we have the obligation also to convey this information to our members. And it is also clearly stated in our convention that we have to establish information services and that we should provide all this material in an appropriate way. Next slide. In the EPPO Convention, our members, they also have obligations, and in a way they have the obligation to provide this information so that we can function, and in particular to provide information on pest and pest status and pest outbreaks. Next slide. Among our objectives, it is to inform all our members about new introductions, new outbreaks, eradication of regulated pests. Another objective is also to provide early warning on emerging pests. So to try to look a little bit ahead to what may be the problems of the future. Another objective is also by collecting all those pest reports, this helps us to initiate other activities, for example, on pest risk analysis, on pest listing, so to decide whether a certain pest needs to be on the EPPO A1 or A2 list, and also to prepare a number of pest-specific standards. Here we are speaking about diagnostics, contingency plan, or phytosanitary measures. Next slide. So how those reports are being collected by EPPO. Next slide. We've tackled this already in earlier presentations. So for EPPO members that are also members of the European Union, Julie has presented us Eurofit outbreak. Catherine also has spoken about it as well, the same for Poland. So member states, when they are reporting to the European Commission, they also have the possibility to transfer the information in total or in part to EPPO. So in fact, in this system, EPPO has no direct access to Eurofit outbreak, but we've established a transfer in JSON. And we can view these notifications via an application. And it's true that in many cases, we receive only part of the information. So the data that has been selected by the member states. So for example, we don't receive the attachments, we don't receive the maps, or we don't receive pictures that may be associated with the pest report. But nevertheless, this is sufficient for us to be able to treat this data. Next slide, please. For other member countries that are not EU members, this is done mainly via official correspondence. So in order to help our members, we have an EPPO standard, which provides a format for pest reports. And this format is really totally compatible with the format that is used on the IPPC, by the IPPC on the IPP portal. A few years ago, we developed also an online system, which is still up and running. And it's an online form through which our members can report data. Next slide. And I wanted to recall here very briefly, because we've seen this before thanks to the colleagues from the IPPC Secretariat, but it's a reminder to all of us that the IPPC Secretariat has produced a number of very interesting and useful standards, for example, on surveillance, on determination of pest status in an area, on eradication programs, on non-compliance. Here we're talking about interceptions, of course, on pest reporting itself, and also on how to establish lists of regulated pests. And also, last but not least, to refer also to the pest status guide, which provides very useful information on how to determine the pest status in an area. I think Catherine has shown that it was not so easy to determine a pest status in a given area. So this guide is providing a number of very useful advice with concrete examples. And we've seen also that there are e-learning programs and videos developed by the IPPC. Next slide. So how do we share this information at the EPPO level? In fact, in EPPO, what we receive from our members are first reports of regulated pests, updates about outbreaks of regulated pests again, Also, information when pests are eradicated, and I think this is very important. And Muriel and I, we would like to strongly encourage countries to report eradication, because this is quite important to close those cases. And in EPPO, we are also collecting information on emerging pests, and I will later say a few words about the EPPO alert list, because we think it is very important to reflect on possible future problems and achieve early warning. We all know that measures are likely to be efficient if we are early. Next slide. But on this slide, I would like to show the information flow within the EPPO Secretariat. So we receive official pest reports that are sent by the National Plant Protection Organization. It's true that at the EPPO Secretariat, we actively search the literature and the internet, but we are not talking about this today. This information is then digested, if I may say, in our newsletter, which is the EPPO Reporting Service. And Yuli explained that this newsletter is studied together with the EFSA newsletter within the EU bodies. And when it concerns an emerging pest, we add it also to the alert list. I won't elaborate much about the alert list, but it's freely available on the EPPO website. And it's the same for the reporting service. It's the free newsletter. Any interested person can obtain it. All this information that we collect is then transferred into a database, which is the EPPO Global Database. And you have the address of this database. And again, it's a freely accessible database. Next slide, please. So in the reporting service, we indeed collect data on new host plants, on new geographical distribution, new records, but also on the biology of all those quarantine pests and pests of potential quarantine significance. And of course, the addition to the alert list are published in the EPPO reporting service. For completeness, the reporting service also contains information on invasive alien plants and biological control agents, but that's not the subject of today. Next slide. So we've seen before that when reporting outbreaks or the occurrence of a pest in an area, it is quite important to try to communicate on its pest status. And EPPO would like to encourage its member countries to report official pest status using the terms of ISPM number 8. And so this is why in the EPPO reporting service and in the EPPO global database, we treat this information in a particular way, and especially when there is no pest status, this is indicated. So both in the reporting service and in the EPPO global database, we make a distinction in the wording. So when we are talking about pest situation, it means this is an interpretation that we have made at the EPPO Secretariat. But when it is a pest status that has been sent officially to us, this is clearly stated and indicated as pest status. Next slide, please. So just to give you an example in an article of a reporting service. So here we were, for example, talking about the first record of a nematode in Italy. Can you, yes, click. we try to standardize the information. And for example, we always indicate the listing status of the pest we are talking about. So in the particular case, it's the nematode that is on the EPPO A2 list, so a pest that occurs with a limited distribution in the EPPO region. We tried always to put the information back into its context. So if we have published something earlier, we refer to it. So it's the earlier reporting service. And we always, when it is available, we clearly state what is the pay status that has been transferred to us by our member country. So here, Italy has clearly said that the Meloideogene enterolobi is transient, actionable, and under eradication. So in fact, in the EPPO reporting service, the aim for us is to present the information in a summarized way, in a harmonized way, to put it back into its general context. So we check what was the situation before, and then to transfer it into EPPO Global Database. Next slide. Here it is an example to show you how we make the difference when we have a pest status or when we do not have an official pest status. So here it was the first report of Huanglongbing in Uruguay, and in that case we didn't have a pest status. So we write here that the situation of Huanglongbing in Uruguay can be described as follows, and then it is our interpretation. So here it was considered it was transient. It was detected in one plant only, and this plant had been destroyed. Next slide, please. So as I said before, everything we collect, including the official pest reports, is stored in the EPPO Global Database, and we manage this database together with Muriel. And we can say that the information can be transferred into it in almost immediate manner. So it means that as soon as we had a pest status, as we had a record to the database, it is immediately visible to all users. Next slide. So this is just an example to show how the information that we received from countries is displayed in the EPPO Global Database. So here, if we take the example of the situation of Popillia japonica in Italy, in the EPPO Global Database, as it is a database, we have to use categories to generate maps. So these categories are slightly different from, let's say, the pest status that are defined in ISBN number 8. The main reason is that the database is a rather rigid format, whereas ISBNs can be modified, and it is good that they can be modified, but it's far more complicated to change categories in the database. But anyway, those you will see are rather well related, or we try to keep them well related. So here in EPPO Global Database, the first field represents the category that have been created by EPPO many years ago. And then we have the pest status. So here it is exactly the wording that was used by the NPPO of Italy to describe the situation of Popillia japonica on its territory. And then we can add comments and links to the reporting service. And we also, of course, indicate our references. On the, no, you can, next slide, Natalie, thank you. Here, we show how the pest status that is defined by the new version of ISPM 8 are interpreted into the EPPO Global Database. So you can see that they are rather similar in most cases. So if we take the first one, present, widely distributed, is translated in the categories of the EPPO Global Database as present, widespread. So I'm not going to go through all those categories, but you see that it is possible to make good correspondence between ISPM number 8 and our database. Next slide, Natalie, please. So in conclusion, we would say that from the EPPO Secretariat side, we would like to encourage NPPOs to continue sending us pest reports. We think they are essential to EPPO's work. Another message is that NPPOs, we would like to encourage them to use the ISPMs as much as possible in providing information that are related to pest outbreaks. So pest reporting, of course, determination of pest status, surveillance, eradication. And finally, from our side, we will certainly continue to develop tools to collect and disseminate and store this information for our members. So with this, I would like to thank you for your attention. And I think we have a few questions. But we have questions that are perhaps addressed to our, yes, Muriel, perhaps you can.
Well, I can summarize the question if you want. So we had plenty of lovely words of participants to say that they appreciate EPPO work and EPPO Global Database. So that we say thank you. I mean, it was nice to hear. We had a comment from Robert Steffek from Austria. Responding to your slide, your plea to use ISPM official wording, and they say that they are working on it in the EU, and that will be a major work. And so that's thank you for providing this information. And maybe we had a comment from Jakob from Kretschmar, and I think it's from Pestlands, and he said that the Pestlands analysts respect and value EPPO work, and he asked if EPPO is using Pestlands work.
Yes, indeed we do, and we have to thank you for doing this work. We know it takes time. We know what it is, and we value the information that is provided by Pestlands, and we definitely use it. Thank you.
And that's, I think it was with that we've answered the different questions.
Yes. So I think we have answered most questions. I would like to thank again very much all our speakers. They've done a great job today. We all know it's not that easy to get prepared to a webinar. We thank them for their patience, because we've been sometimes asking them to test the system beforehand. So thank you very much for their time. I don't want to close the meeting now, because we thought that we wanted a little bit of interaction, which is not so easy through a webinar, but we have organized a small poll session. So you will be given little time to answer this first question. So did you find this webinar informative? So we'll give you a few minutes to answer those questions, and then there will be another question. So don't leave after this question. There will be another one afterwards.
Je pense qu'il ne voit pas. On voit qu'on a... 72% des gens qui
We're waiting a little bit more, but we see it's progressing. For the moment, 70% of the participants have answered and voted. Yeah.
Yes, you have to check the white ballot that you support to answer one of the questions we had.
I think we're going to close the poll, and we thank you really, because most of you answered yes. Muriel is going to share. Yes. Thank you very much. Thank you very much for keeping us happy. And now we're going to launch the second question, which is a little bit more elaborated. Just give us a little minute. So this is a multiple choice questions. So in a future workshop on pest reporting, which topics would you like to address? So we could only put 5 options because the system's allowed only 5 options. So if you have a burning topic that you would like to be addressed in a future workshop, you can put it in the question section. But here so you can select national reporting obligations, determination of pest status, which type of pests should be reported, tools for pest reporting, and the possible role of citizen sciences in pest reporting. And you can choose several of them, not just one. So we leave you some time. I think we're going to close the poll. So here are the results. Okay, so it seems that determination of the status is a good subject. So we'll think about this when preparing another workshop. So thank you very much to all our participants. I think throughout the webinar you were between 110 and 150. So we are very happy. Thank you for your participation. Thank you very much for the questions also to the speakers. I would like to thank the organizing committee of this webinar. We have colleagues from Georgia, Manana Bolotashvili, Mariam Shubinishvili, Nicolas Meski. We also want to thank Katrin Kaminski from Germany, Danny Lindsay Klassen from the UK, and last but not least, all my colleagues sitting around this table for their help in preparing this workshop. Without them, it would not have been possible. I would like to thank again very much our speakers once again, and I want also to inform you that the presentations will be made available as PDFs on the EPPO website. For the recording of this session, we'll see if the speakers agree with this, they will be available on the webinar website, not the EPPO website. They will be available only to those who have registered. That will be the objective. And I think with this workshop, we've seen very interesting information. We've seen the legal framework of pest reporting. We've seen the complexity of pest reporting. We've seen that it relates with other very important missions of the NPPOs that are related to surveillance, to diagnostics, to PRA, to the management of outbreaks, and also the development and implementation of phytosanitary regulations. We've seen also that it was a challenging activities, but we've also seen the benefit of sharing pest report. We've seen that it was essential to protect agriculture, the environment, and also to ensure continuity in market access. And we've also seen how complex it could be to organize pest reporting at national level and international level. But we've heard about new developments as well, and I think we're all looking forward to continue developing the pest outbreak and rapid response system, and also to continue working in better sharing pest reports at international level between NPPOs, RPPOs, and the IPPC. So I think Nico perhaps would like to say a few words in conclusion.
Last but not least, I would like to thank Anne-Sophie Roy for being the driving force about organizing this, of course, with help of many colleagues here around the table, but also with the speakers, of course. But Anne-Sophie, thank you very much for organizing. I think this was a good way of putting pest reporting on the table and discuss it and share experience. But I also noted from the poll that pest status ranked very high. And this was initially also the plan, if we would have an in-person workshop, to include that. So we really see there's a good link between pest reporting and pest status, but a webinar of half a day is not sufficient to cover both subjects. but it's interesting to see that also the audience appreciated to have that subject dealt with. We'll consider that. I would like to thank you all very much. And unless you have to say something else, I would like to close this webinar and thank all the participants and all the speakers for their active participation. Thank you very much. Take care and see you another time.